Molweni, molweni.
Molo, Craig.
Ninjani Mama Ruela?
Ndiphilile. Unjani wena?
Ndiphilile nam, enkosi. Kuyabanda qha. Kuyabanda qha.
Hi.
Cold.
Ipi moto yake.
Imoto yam iphandle. It's outside. Namhlanje ndisendlini kwabazali.
Xolo ikotole.
Ndihlala nabazali namhlanje apha eKapa, staying with my parents. The official Ubuntu Bridge headquarters, according to all the documents. Just in case the debt collectors need to go somewhere, they can track down my parents. That's that's when I say the ancestors are sponsoring Ubuntu Bridge, that's what I'm talking about, guys. Anyway, I wish they cash. All they give me is a hot shower and a warm bed, which really is just pathetic. Bloody. Anyways, just kidding. Okay, cool. No,
Don't forget your roots.
Yeah, no, I don't at all. And also, I've often, this is an interesting aside. Let's call this the bonus wisdom that comes with Ubuntu Bridge. I've moved back in with my parents so many times. I'm now 40 and they regularly are the place where I stay. And I've often said, I've said to my mom, Mom, you should be really grateful because if I was more successful in life, then you guys would never see me. I'd be like living in Japan or something. Or in my own luxury apartment somewhere. So, and actually the funny thing is I'm actually grateful. It's not for my mom. I've often thought the times that I've had to move back in with my parents throughout my 30s were great. I've spent lots of time with them. And also I accredit the dynamic with allowing me to move into a friend relationship with my parents to some extent. I mean, there is still like a parent-child dynamic at times, but not really. On the whole, it's like we've become more friends, which is cool. I suppose that's an unnecessary phase to go through. So we can all be adults together. Not that they respect me massively, but especially when I'm living in their spare room. Okay, until I'm kicking them out of their office so I can do a lecture. All right. Enough of this. I think that's everyone has now come in. Very nice to see you all, guys. Molweni ndiyavuya ukunibona. Happy to see you all. Yes, I think we should. Are there any questions, thoughts, comments? Gail, I saw your comments and I just actually responded to the one which was to say that you don't need to know all the vocab for the lesson we're doing today. The statives are in their own way, their own kettle of fish. And you'll recognize a few of them. And it's more like I want you to have an awareness of the stative verbs. And you don't need to know the first half of the course, except now that you know ile is the past tense, you'll see how it's a useful setup. In the old level 2 that we used to do, in the old level 2, I used to teach past tense and statives in one lesson, which I deeply regretted for about a decade. But there wasn't anything I could do about it because I'd already recorded audio and made a bloody book. And yeah, it was just something that, so for a long time, Babalua, who used to teach the evening classes, and myself, if we taught level 2s or Dion, we would split lesson 7, was it 7 or 8, into 2 because it was just too much content. So yeah, that's why with this online course structure, I've been able to redesign the level 2s and 3s the way I would prefer them to be. But that's also meant that I'm reinventing the wheel and it's created a whole bunch of extra stress and stuff, but it's fine. It's for the long term. So, and I think it's better this way. Sorry, a few latecomers. Great. Let's let them in. All right. I'm going to share screen. If I don't see any questions, I don't see anything on the chat box. I'm recording. Everything's on the go. Let's do this. I almost shared the Zoom so that you guys would have seen the Zoom sharing the Zoom. That would have been ridiculous. Okay, so Xhosa level 3. Just let me zoom in a bit. Let's first find this lesson. So, so remember last week was this consolidation week, and I just want to like make it again clear to everyone that there's a lot of content. As I mentioned back in June, having removed the statives to the second half of the course, I then went and overcompensated again and made far too much extra content. So as I said last week, but Woon vetoed this decision, I'm going to move it into its own section, a bonus section. I just don't want you guys to get overwhelmed. So far, what you're supposed to know in this course is, I'll never forget. What you're supposed to know so far is the future tense. Uzo hamba nini. When will you go? Oh, ndizo hamba ngo June. Or ndizohamba ngo 5. Ndizohamba ngo Lwesihlanu, Friday. Ndizohamba Friday. That's all. Ndizohamba ngo 2022. So that's the first lesson. That's all you need to know. Future tense zo. And the negative andizu hamba, wherever. Then the next thing you meant to know was ile. Let's find this here. Ile was the past tense perfect, okay? Which meant I studied difundile, and the short version difunde isiXhosa, all right? And again, we used it with nini, like ufike nini ekapa. You arrived when in Cape Town. Ufike nini ekapa. And then you could say ndifike ngo January, ndifike ngo 2019. So that ngo thingy. Then there's a little bit extra there about the nga. How did you travel? Uhamba ngandoni. I'm not going to go into that now unless you have a question around it, but that's just a nice another way of using ngandoni by means of what. And then we did the past tense positive with the anga. So I haven't gone, I didn't go. Andi hambanga. I didn't learn German at school. Andi fundanga isi Germani eskolweni, and so on. Pretty useful. And then what did you do? Wenzeni, and we also had the future tense of that. Those are just useful conversational things. Wenzeni ngempela veki. What did you do on the weekend? Or wenzeni nge holiday. What did you do on holiday? Oh, ndi dlale ibola, ndibukela video, whatever you did. All right. The nga, that lesson was just to remind you of the ways you can use nga with time. Okay. And then last week, the consolidation week was a chance to just study whatever you needed to study. And there was 2 conversations, that sample conversation with Home Affairs, which hopefully you've all worked through. And then I got like over the top in the consolidation week and made this whole Robben Island conversation as well. So as I mentioned, you will have time to work on those later. Like they meant to buy me time in between semesters and give you guys things to do. But yeah, they were a bit over the top. So now we're into statives, all right? Statives, any questions? Everyone looking happy? Martin looks happy. Nico looks happy. Leonie looks happy. Molly looks too happy. Molly stoned. Maybe it's your surname. Yeah, okay. Actually, your first name and your surname are both, anyway, let's not go there. All right. Okay. So, excuse me, guys. That's, yeah. All right. Statives. Okay, so statives are pretty cool, and you know some statives already. You just don't know that they're statives. All right. And they're actually not complicated, but for some reason, they do cause people to go into panic, like Gail late last night on a Sunday night when she was doing her class of pre-studying. Okay, so we're going to look at some statives, positives, negatives, which you already know. You'll see why. A few variations, past tense, exercise, dialogue, all right, etc., etc. Completed. Next lesson. Okay, let's look. Next unit. I mean, statives. This looks a bit big now. No. Move that out the way. Okay, so what are stative verbs? So in Xhosa, there's normal verbs that we've been learning so far. They end with an a, like hamba, teta, funda, zama, etc. All right, easy. And then you know the past tense, which is the iles, okay, of those verbs. But now stative verbs are a type of verb found in Xhosa, which are referring to a state of becoming. That's what it means, stative. It's a state of becoming a certain way, all right? They describe a state of being or a condition that one experiences, but cannot necessarily do voluntarily, all right? I'll give an example. With normal verbs, I can say to you, Leonie, hamba. Bit rude, but I could say that and you could go. You could walk, you could go, or I could say teta and you could talk. Those are actions you can take voluntarily, no problems. Those are normal verbs. Statives are things that you can't do on command. For instance, become hungry. Okay, become is the crucial part of a stative verb. Become hungry, which is lamba. Now, if I say to you guys, become hungry, you could pretend, you could be like, and rub your stomach, but you might not actually feel hungry. Or maybe you'll think of a hamburger or something and you'll start feeling a bit hungry, which is probably the closest you can get, but it's not a guaranteed action that people can perform, okay? It's a state of becoming that's usually happening, in this case, naturally, like we always re-becoming hungry, having eaten or having digested. So the thing is that no one says, I am becoming hungry in Xhosa. They don't say ndialamba. Ndi, present tense, ya, lamba, I'm becoming hungry. You wouldn't say that, okay? You would use the past tense, which is with the ile, to say ndilambile, I am hungry, but it translates as I have become hungry, okay? I actually think we do this in English as well. Last time we did the lecture, it kind of came up. So I just can't remember the example right now. But anyways, let's not think about it right now. So the point is, ndilambile, okay? I am hungry. So a stative verb is weird. It's present tense. I'm telling you I'm hungry now, but I'm using ile, which is the past tense grammar. All right, that's the trick. It's not complex, but at first it's a bit confusing. And when you encounter a new stative verb, you're like, hey, is this a normal verb in past tense or is this a stative verb in the present tense? But you just learn it as you go. Like you learn a new word, you're like, oh, it's a stative. It's not a majorly complicated thing. So far, so good. I don't see any questions or raised hands or anything like that. Okay. So positive stative verbs, they have this becoming element to them. All right. Now you actually know a few of these and you use them regularly. You're going to go, oh, that's why it's indeed. God, someone put ndipililile. That'll have to change. But we are alive. Pila is a verb. Diapila, siapila. It means we are alive, but it also means becoming well or becoming healthy. Okay. Like if you say to someone, pila gaguhle, it means get better. Feel better. Or not feel, but get better. Pila gaguhle. Or someone was sick and you say, unjani, whoever, umangmang. They say, I know we are pila. He is getting better. She is getting better. Okay. If she's become well, then it's upilile. Like when we say we are well, we have become well. Past tense of becoming. Sipilile. Ndipilile. Okay, so we use it in the greetings right from the very first lesson. Pilile means well. I have become well. The process of becoming is what's past tense. Now, people do say ndiapila. Zulu says ngiapila. Xhosa and Zulu both say siapila. You can use that in a greeting. There's nothing wrong with it. It also means we're alive. We are well. It's just a very common greeting as well. But very common in Xhosa especially is to say sipilile, dipilile, meaning I am well. Not I was well, I am well. Just want to check the comment. Molly says dipililile is when you ululate about how well you have become. Exactly. Hopefully you don't urinate whilst you're ululating because then, yeah, that's anyways. Okay. Diapila or ndipililile are both common in greetings, and we'll talk about a sick person, meaning, yeah, we've done that. Cool. Another one, lungile, becoming right. is lunga. Getting fixed is lunga. Getting ready is lunga. Getting, becoming, statives, okay? It's becoming right, kuyalunga. But once it is right, once it is ready, once it is fixed, kulungile, kulungile. So you know that word kulungile. You know it. All right. So there you go, kulungile. And if people are talking about something's fixed, like you'll be like, yo, how's my car? Injani moto yam? Hi, ilungile, ilungile. All right, it's ready, it's fixed, ilungile. You know, if you're like, yeah, it's getting there, yalunga, yalunga, but it's not there yet, but it's there, ilungile, it's fixed, it's ready, it's right. So that's another one, you know, lungile. Wamkelekile, another stative verb, you know, we use it a lot. How does that work? Because amkela means welcoming someone. So if you said in diamkela, present tense, you'd mean I am welcoming someone. But amkelekile means you have been welcomed. You are welcomed. All right. I don't know why Xhosa says it in that way, but it does. I guess in English, yes, you're welcomed. You've been welcomed. I don't know. Anyways, wamkelekile, stative verb. It's got the ile on. It's not the past tense. We're not saying you were welcomed. We're saying you have been welcomed. And to a group, namkelekile. Then there's another, I thought there'd be another one that you guys knew. Pilile, lungile, wamkelekile. Maybe not. Most of you know the word for hungry though. Lambile. All right. Again, becoming hungry is lamba. Lamba. So you wouldn't say to people in dia lamba. It's irrelevant. So we're like, so what? Who cares? We're all getting hungry. That's not relevant. But once you've become hungry, you would say dilambile. Just on an interesting philosophical, culturally thing, when I lived in the village when I was 23 as a Xhosa, so I was training as a Sangoma, didn't become a Sangoma, for those of you who haven't got the update. I became a Xhosa teacher. When I was there in the village, there were a bunch of things that contrasted greatly with my very privileged education and upbringing, such as having constant electricity, running hot water, a fridge full of food, the ability to snack whenever I wanted to. And once I lived in the village, it was like, oh my God, there's no electricity, there's no running water, and there's no fridge, and there's no food on standby. If you were thirsty, okay, you'd have to make sure there was water in the buckets, or you had to walk down a hill with buckets, fill them up with water, put them on your head, walk back up, empty them into another thing. And it was a process. Everything was a labor-intensive process. If you wanted to cook tea, you needed wood to heat the fire. Where did the wood come from? Down the hill in the forest. So again, process. And you're always updating these sources by fetching. Of course, the old philosophical saying about before enlightenment, chop wood, fetch water, after enlightenment, chop wood, fetch water. I definitely had an experience around that in terms of just, yeah, there's something wonderful about fetching your own water and fetching your own wood and being active, being physical and being involved in the process. Yes, you can't watch as much Netflix. In fact, you couldn't watch any Netflix because there wasn't Netflix. But there's something beautiful about it, really beautiful. And your posture gets incredibly well aligned, strong body, because, you know, you're balancing heavy things of water and wood on your neck. So I don't want to romanticize poverty, but that particular lifestyle, and that I don't think that was poverty. There was a lot of abundance in a lot of ways, but it was really great. The main point though is that I'm used to snacking when I want, and meals took forever to arrive, and we were usually cooking them, and they often took 3 hours to cook. I don't know why. Try as we might to increase that, it just usually took 3 hours. Yes, we were cooking for between 10 to 20 people, but still, it just, even if you're cooking for a small group, I don't know why, making the fire, cooking the water, adding the rice, chopping all the stuff, stories. So my point of that was that I also realized, people, they don't talk about getting hungry, like when you're a little bit more kind of privileged in the fridge, you're like, I'm getting a bit hungry, a bit peckish, let me get a snack. in Xhosa, it's like, yeah, that's not a thing, you know. It's like when you're hungry, and then food is necessary. At least the way I understand it or see it in this particular instance of lambile, dilambile, I'm hungry. So at the end of the day, what I could also say is this whole lesson, all you really need to know is that there are stative verbs. They are slightly different from normal verbs because they indicate a state of becoming, like pila, getting better, lamba, getting hungry, wamkela, becoming welcomed. And then once they have become that way, they are statives. They use the past tense ile. Dilambile, I'm hungry. Martin asked, shouldn't wamkelekile be wamkelile? Yeah, that's a good point, actually. So I left out a line here. Let me do it in the chat box just to explain. So amkela is to welcome someone. There's a suffix, a verbal suffix called eka. Okay, and that means able. For instance, tanda is love. Lovable. Oops. Any guesses? Lovable? Just add eka onto tanda. Gosh, what's happening? Tandeka, lovable. All right. So that's what the eka suffix means, and you'll see it fairly regularly. I'm trying to think of another one. Toleka. Tola is to become calm. Actually, a stative, become calm, because once you're calm, tolile, peaceful. Polisa, if you add isa on the end, these are called verbal extensions. You make calm or make peace, also known as apologize. Dia polisa, I'm apologizing. Okay, I got a little bit sidetracked there. Let's go back to the eka. If you add the eka, the able part, onto the welcome, someone is welcomeable. All right. So in other words, in a way, it's kind of like a compliment to you, like wamkelekile, you have become welcomeable or whatever. In other words, you're not a threat to us. You know, we don't perceive you to be a threat. Okay, hang on, let me clear this up a little bit. So amkela is to welcome someone, the action, I am welcoming someone, but someone, you are amkeleka, all right, which means amkeleka, they added that on. You're welcomeable. I know it doesn't really exist in English, but you're welcomeable. And once it's a stative, welcomeable or becoming welcomeable, you have become welcomeable. I-E, you are welcome. That's how we'd say it in English. Welcomeable. I hope that makes sense, but that's where that extra eka comes in. So it's not amkelile, it's amkelekile, wamkelekile. Cool. Nice question, Tata Martin. And tola is a nice word. Tolisa, yeah, tolisa, I'm sorry. You can say ndicela uxolo, I request peace. You can say uxolo, sorry, or you can say ndiyaxolisa, I apologize, ndiyaxolisa. Tola, calm down. Tolani, talking to a group. So you'll recognize these are common Xhosa names. Tola, Tolani, Tolile, Tolisa, Tanda, Tandeka. That's right. I was going to add this. Dia Tolisa. And then Toleka means like calmable. I don't know how to translate. It sounds weird. Calmable, peaceful, you know. Gail says quite a few people I know have names like Tandeka, Sonwabile, Toleka. Yeah. Sonwabile means we are happy. Okay, it's also a stative. Onwaba, become happy. Again, it's something you can't just do. You can fake being happy, you can pretend to be happy, but you can't really. If you're feeling depressed and someone's like, be happy, you know, you're like, no, buzz off. But onwaba is becoming happy. Once you've become happy, onwabile. And then if you want to say I am, you add in D, which becomes ndonwabile. I am happy. Si is we, so sonwabile. We are sonwabile. So yeah, you'll see that as a name. I mean, this is the beautiful thing. A lot of Xhosa names, they just come straight out of the language. They mean exactly that. Lovable, peaceful. We are happy. We are grateful. It's like such a weird thing. I mean, it's not really weird. I just mean that in English, we're not used to like that kind of formation of name. You know, Craig, Martin, you know, Gale. I mean, that's not even gale from like a gale force wind, is it? I mean, you know, it's like there might be a relation, but it's like, you know, Craig, as I've probably said before, is like a cave crag on the mountains. They're weird sort of ancestral names that are a bit disconnected because of the nature of European history and how, I don't know, extrapolated and we've become. So yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. Like, imagine if I said in English, oh, hi, my name is We Are Happy. It's like, I just can't get my head around it. I just find it so odd. Like, yeah. Hey, we are happy. Come, we're going to the shops. It's so bizarre. Like, I mean, for me, just to make sense of that, you know, and then it's like, hi, this is my mom. They are enough. This is my dad. They are present. And this is my brother. We are grateful. You know, and I'm definitely not mocking it. I find Xhosa names to be absolutely stunningly beautiful. I just find the translation into English, and if we did that in English, so weird to me. It's like I just can't quite fathom it. Anyways, especially because there's, yes, hello.
I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
When you say like when you like to say enjoy your meal, don't you also say unwabile ukutya kwakho? Is that the same? Like, how can you? Is this something different than the happy?
Slightly. It's the same stem. So verbal extensions. There's only 4 of them, and you know them. I think verbal extensions. Isa means cause or make, like polisa. E.g., funda is learn. Isa is make learn, i.e. teach. Okay. Eka is a bowl. Okay, another one is ana, which means each other. Okay, tandana means love each other. Tandana, love each other. You'll see this in like names of NGOs and things like masncedisane, let's help each other.
So bonana.
Yeah, exactly. Bonana, see each other. Sizo bonana, we will see each other. Nceda is help. Ncedisa, I mean, this is a good one actually. Let me do it like this. Help. Nceda. For whatever reason, assist. You cause someone to help. Ncedisa. Assist each other. Ncedisana. Ncedisa. Also a common Xhosa name. I mean, I've got a friend called Ncedisa, 2 friends, Ncedisa. Ncedisana, assist each other. Sobonana, we will see each other. Sizobonana. Sobonana. So to go back to your one, the other one here is Ela. Ela. Because what was your question again, Leonie? Your mabele, enjoy, right. So Ela is 4. All right, that's how I understand it, 4. So in other words, oops, work for sebenzela. I work for Woolworths. Sebenzela Woolworths. yeah, he works for himself. Uyazisebenzela. So those are the 4 verbal extensions that I know of. Now, you're talking about onwaba. Waba, become happy. And I don't fully understand, but I know onwabela as enjoy. Onwabela. So you're adding that for on, like be happy for, I guess. That's how I would translate it. Be happy for. But like then you can say for whatever it is that they're doing. So ukonwabela ukucha is to be enjoy your food. Or I usually say yonwabele, let's say iklasi, enjoy class. Okay, or yonwabele I holiday, enjoy your holiday. Enjoy yonwabele. So this y is conjugated based on the noun group, the prefix I, so it gets yonwabele. If it was food, which is ukucha, then it's ukonwabele. Konwabele. Konwabele. It's a bit confusing because you get this subjunctive as well with the E. So it's a little bit of a like a later stage one that I'd prefer to do after the noun groups. But in a nutshell, Leonie, that's where it comes from. It's like be happy for your holiday, i.e. enjoy your holiday. Sure. Anyways, so that's a little bit, I mean, it's good to know those verbal extensions. Isa, Eka, Ana, and Ela. But I'd probably, they are somewhere in the content as their own lesson. Yeah, wondering where. All right, I just want to see Mujahid. Oh, Woon says, Patty says, in West African English-speaking countries, that is how the names are, like Xhosa, but in English. Yeah, but patience, beautiful, blessing, privilege, those are all one word. So, you know, it's none of them, as far as I've never met anyone called we are patient or they are happy or it is beautiful, you know, type of thing. Whereas that's how the Xhosa ones translate. They're not just saying tanda, kola. Some of them are, but some are sonwabile or siabulela or and so on. So anyways, but yeah. Mujahid asks if I wanted to say I think. Yeah, ndiyacinga. Ndiyacinga is I am thinking. The ya kind of adds that present continuous element. Ndiyacinga. If you wanted to say I think that, you would say ndicinga ukuba. Okay. And I've become thinking. It doesn't totally make sense to me in English, even that one. So ndicingile is more like I thought. All right, let me add this as a comment so that you can all see what I'm talking about. Oh, that didn't work. All right. Okay, almost. Okay, thinga is think. It's not a stative, it's a normal verb. Think. If I say to you think, you can think. You can be like, okay. Although that's more like pretending to think, but you can think about something if someone asks. So it is a normal verb. And if you wanted to say, I am thinking, or I think that, whatever, I think that. Thinga, ukuba. Ukuba is that. Often it gets shortened to just uba. Tikinguba amaboko azophumelele. Amaboko Springboks amaboko azophume. They will, future tense, phumelela. They will win. I think that the Springboks will win. Ndicinga ukuba amaboko azophumelela. I thought, singile, or I thought that they would win, then it would just be short version. Ndicinga, I thought, ndicinge, uba amaboko azophumelela. But kodwa, I don't know who does anyone beat the Springboks nowadays, hey? So yeah, let's just but Kodwa ama whoever. Sandy's message, most Xhosa names usually have a bigger meaning behind them. You would find that it forms part of the sentence that meant something to them at the time. Okay, exactly. This is nice. Thank you, Sandy. I'm going to post it here. So yeah, obviously, I mean, this isn't, I don't know why I can't seem to copy out of the chat box. Okay, I have to first paste it into the chat box. Okay, so most Xhosa names usually have a bigger meaning behind them. So you would find that it forms part of the sentence that meant something to them at the time, e.g. sonwabile. Yeah, I mean, ngokubakho kwalo mntwana. And that is, we are happy to have this child. They could have been trying for years without getting a child, as an example. And it's usually the case, you know, that's in the naming lesson. That's what we talk about back in level 1, lesson 4. We talk about names, the culture of naming, and the fact that there's often a story around the birth. But my point is still that I find it amazing how a sentence can be used as a name. And that's because Xhosa is written as one word, which is amazing. But doesn't explain it. We could also write English as one word. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. But there's a beautiful, I love the culture of naming that exists within Xhosa, except when people name their child Mpazamo, which means sounds more like the villain's name in a Marvel movie. Anyway. Okay, so yeah. Woon also had Leonie says, I guess a verb can either be stative or non-stative, then to think should only be a non-stative. But yeah, exactly. Like there's no verbs that are both stative and normal. There's normal verbs and there's stative verbs. Okay. So yeah, all verbs, as far as you're concerned, are normal until you learn that they're stative. For instance, you'll ask someone, oh, what is I'm hungry? And someone's like, lambile. You're like, oh, okay, must be a stative. Because you didn't ask them for the past tense of hungry, you asked them for hungry and they told you lambile. Or you ask someone, what's the word for busy? Intoni busy. Guess Xhosa. Intoni busy. Xolo tishala intoni busy. Guess Xhosa. All right. Then I'd be like, busy. Then I'd be like, just jokes. I mean, you can say busy, but it's ka, ke, ile, busy. All right. And then you'd be like, oh, it must be a stative because it's got past tense in it. I am busy. All right. So, yeah, you're gonna, from now on, you'll learn, they'll pop up. Statives will inevitably pop up. Let's go to the next lesson. Oh, wait, let me just check a few more comments. Yintoni good memory. You remember well in Xhosa. Uyakumbula, ukumbulile. Yeah, you remember well. Ukumbule, kaguhle. You remembered well. Ukumbule, kaguhle. What's going on here? Ukumbule, kaguhle. Just like an elephant. Just like Jenga plus noun. In this case, elephant is indlovu. So just like an elephant. Jenga plus indlovu becomes jengendlovu. Jengendlovu, just like an elephant. Kumbule kakuhle. Okay, Roella asks, he is thoughtful, be a stative. You know, I don't know the word thoughtful in Xhosa. Maybe Sisandi has a good word for thoughtful. Let me just see what's going on here. Pazamo, broken rubber. God, oh Lord. Okay, I'm not gonna. That's because most Xhosa people's name, yes, thoughtful. Isn't thoughtful an adverb or adjective? He is thoughtful. It's an adjective, isn't it? No, adjective would be like he is a thoughtful person. He is I don't know. Maybe it's sometimes an adverb. I mean, adverb is like you do something well. You talk thoughtfully. Thoughtfully would be the adverb. And so it's kind of like an adjective. He is a thoughtful person. Yeah, I think it's an adjective. Anyways, I don't know how to say that, guys. Sorry. He's a thoughtful person. No, it says something like Ubuntu or I'm not sure. Maybe Sandy's not there anymore, or maybe she's still thinking about this one.
I am here. I think you've said it nicely. Like it's someone. There's no word for thoughtful, so you have to explain what kind of person that is. So, the yo, I think you just remove it.
Let's just do it like that then. Yeah, it's a person that thinks well. Let's keep it simple. You would just say he thinks well or she thinks well. Thanks, Sandy. So, yeah, now hungry is also an adjective. Look, you can use hungry as an adjective in English. All right. So you can say the hungry lion. All right. But the word hungry itself, like I am hungry, that's not an adjective. Is it? I'm a bit confused now because you'd say like I am tall, but these things, I don't quite get it, to be honest. The becomes the verb. Look, if you're going to use hungry as an adjective in Xhosa, you need to know how adjectival stems work. Okay, and that's like level 5. So let's not go there right now, because right now this statives are a bit of there's no verb for to be hungry in English. You just say to be hungry is
to hunger.
To hunger. Yeah. Okay, well, look, let's not get too worried about this one right now, because the most important thing is just knowing that you get stative verbs and that they're fairly common. All right, let's go to the next thingy majiggy. Wait, if I can even find it. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? Oopsie. Okay, let's go to the next one. Negative statives. And then we'll do the common stative vocab list. And you can see, because really the trick of it is just like, I'm going to give you a bunch of common statives, and you're going to just learn those as you want. You don't have to, you can ignore them all. It just depends, you know, like in this world and in this kind of common way of learning Xhosa at the moment, it's like, you know, I just advocate for like learn on a need to know basis. Like, okay, I want to be able to say I'm hungry. I want to be able to say I'm busy, and I want to be able to say it's important. So you learn those 3 or 4 statives and you use them. And if time goes by and you need to learn new statives, or you ask someone a word and they teach it to you and you recognize, oh, it's got ile on the end, but it's in the present tense, it must be a stative. So that's the goal of today, really. But let's, obviously negative, this is worth mentioning, although it becomes a mouthful. Just like the past tense negative, it's got anga on the end, so do the statives. So because the statives are spoken with the past tense ile, if you want to use the negative, you use anga, just like with difundile, I learned, and difundanga, I didn't learn. It's the same with statives. So I'm not hungry would be andilambanga, okay? So Yeah, that's really just, if you want to say we're not well, asipilanga, we're not well, or I'm not well, andipilanga. Dipilile, I'm healthy, andipilanga, I'm not healthy. So you should have already practiced that conjugation of the negatives when we were doing in the first half of the course, like ndiyahamba, andihambi, ndizohamba, andizohamba, ndihambile, andihambanga. Oh, those are normal verbs. Now with statives, it's the same thing. But you're not saying negative past tense, you're using negative present tense with the anga. All right. So that's just something that you'll practice with some of the examples, like here down at the bottom. All right. So I started bringing in these non-specific prefixes, as you would already have noticed, even in level 2, ku, like kulungile, kuyabanda, and the I, which we've started looking at as well, like ilungile, and so on, imnandi, inhle, and so on. And again, the negative prefixes aku or ayi. These will become more, as you use them in those sample conversations or exercises, then they'll make more sense. And then you've got like an example here. It's not okay. It's not ready. It's not all right. Akulunganga. Okay. Kulungile, it's okay. Akulunganga, it's not okay. So, usually I'll that's like the first word I learned of negative statives, akulunganga, because sometimes that's what you want to say, like akulunganga ukuthetha isingesi sodwa emzansi. It's not okay to only talk English in South Africa. That's my opinion, because Afrikaans people will get upset with you. Okay, so akulunganga, whatever you want to say. Akulunganga ukupeka rice ne pap. It's not okay to cook rice and pap. No one's got time for rice and pap. Okay, and so on and so forth. She is well. Let's look at these. She is well. Upilile, right down there at the bottom. She is not well. Akapilanga. 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 They are hungry, balambile. They are hungry, balambile. They are not hungry. Is that what we're going to do next? Abalambanga. Okay, we are not hungry. So I didn't, flipping it up there a little bit, which is fine. Asilambanga. We are not hungry. Asilambanga. The project is fine. The project is fine. I project, I lungi. If it starts with the I, put an I onto your verb. Okay, you'll do level 4 soon, and then you'll know more noun group stuff. I project, injani, I project, ilungi. Injani, imozulu, the weather, ilungi. The bus is not okay. I bus, ayilunganga. I basi, ayilunganga. Down at the bottom there. That's not okay. Akulunganga. Okay, then kulungile. Ke. All right, I'm just trying to teach you that little ke at the bottom. It's how to say alrighty then. Kulungile ke, sharp ke, sobonana ke. We'll see each other then. Okay then, alrighty then, and so on. Okay. Are you married? Uchatile. So marriage is a stative verb. Getting married. It's not something you can do. Hey, wena chata, get married. I mean, you can't do it in the moment. You can take someone's advice and start the process, but you can't just jump on the spot or talk or run. It's a stative. Getting married is a process. So you getting married, uzo chata nini, you will get married when? I'm married. I got married is another way of saying it. No, we're not married. We are not, negative. Asi chatanga, as chatanga. We are not married. All right. Patty, there's no verb for hungry. All right. Okay. Molly, a stative verb describes a state of being rather than action. Yeah, kind of both, or a state of becoming. So it's sort of a state of being, sort of a state of becoming. Maybe that's the same thing. I'm not really sure. It also translates for things that in English we'd say he's getting married. He's getting full. So chluta is to become full, but once you're full, you say chluti. I think we'll see that one later in this lesson in the irregular statives. Cool. So look, that lesson, that's for you guys to do the exercise, practice positive negatives. Pretty straightforward. Let's look at a common stative verb list. Okay, again, none of this is crucial for now, but it's useful. Busy, I've put them with their ile form. I could have put them with their a form, and then it would have translated as becoming, but now it's ile, so it's become. Busy, xakekile. Calm or still, zolile. Clean, xoxekile. Cool. So that's not clean as in I'm cleaning my body or like clean the stove. Those are different things. Hlamba, xotha. But xoxeka is become clean. And once it has become clean, past tense, it's clean. Cool of temperature, pholile. Someone has died or passed away, swelekile. Died for an animal, file. Okay, so when someone says like, where's your mama or your father or something, they're like, no, sweleki. It's a way of saying they passed away. They have died. But if you're talking about animals, you say ufile. It died. Empty or finished, pelile. All right. Imali ipelile. Ixesha lipelile. Iklas, no, not iklas. Pelile, it's substances. All right. Water, time, money, beer, and so on. Kriba means finished of an action. Kribile, finished, meaning the action. The video is finished. I-video, ikribil. The class is finished. I-class, ikribil. So that's the difference between these two words for finish. Pelile, empty, run out of substance. Kribile, action, come to an end. Someone's fat, but chebile. Someone is thin, but bitile. Happy, onwabile. Important, balulekile. It's one of my favorite words. It's a very important word. Lost, lahleki. Married, chati. Right, ready, fixed, lungi. Rushed, ngamile. Scarce, ngabile. Worried or troubled, katazeki. All right, so a lot of emotions are statives because you're in a state of emotion. It's not like an active choice. You can pretend, but emotions generally are states of being that we are in. So you don't need to know those, but they will pop up in the sample conversations. I find them all pretty useful quite often, and I recommend learning them, especially if you want to understand people. But also it's nice to express yourself, you know. Yeah, I know, I'm in a rush today. People will say to you, yo, sis Leonie, you are scarce. So you'll start to hear this one. In fact, I have no doubt people have said it to you before. You didn't know what they were saying. So you said, when UBuntu Bridge. So now you will notice when people say this to you, it's usually like, you know, you went to the Woolworths last week and now you've gone again, or you haven't been for a few weeks and you see the same security guard or you see the same manager or whoever it is, and they'll be like, you'll be like, Unjani buti, Makhosi, and they'll be like, yo, Nabil, you are scarce. Molly, I don't know. I think you would just say hi in Dipilile ngoku. I don't know exactly. COVID. That sounds more like I got finished by COVID. Yeah. but I don't think that's COVID. I don't know about that. I think you would just say, I don't know, if Sis Sandy is still here, maybe she has a better answer for you, but like I beat it, betili COVID. I don't know.
Sorry, Craig. I think it's just saying I am well now, meaning that I'm healed. So you would say in dipilile. The same dipilile that you say when they ask you how are you. So when you are now well, you've recovered, you would say in dipilile.
Yeah. Dipilile is usually it's exactly. So dipilile is more like I'm finished in action. All right, so uqibile msebenzi namhlanje, yeah, ndiqibile nkosi. Okay, these are all useful to know, but not necessary, and we'll build some into conversations and exercises, so don't worry. Sukatazeka, you see, sukatazeka. don't become worried. Don't stress. Sustresa, suwara, sukhathazeka. But if you are worried, you've become worried, ukhathazekile. Okay. So yeah, they're there for you to learn slowly but surely. Some of them will show up. Like things like marriage are pretty common topics. You know, you ask people, uchatile? As-chatanga. Uzochata nini? Sizochata ngo 2022. But I've put them into some conversations that'll come up as well. So you'll see. The difference between Kibile, Pelile, I already spoke about that one. There's a bunch of questions for you, and that will be a chance for you to learn your vocab. And I've also mixed it up a bit, used some old grammar you guys should know. So I'm not going to spend any time on that, but that'll be useful for you to practice. All right. And there's Yon Wabele, enjoy. As Leonie asked, Yon Wabele, enjoy it. Be happy for it. Be in joy. Cool. So that's the lesson. And the summary of the lesson is, yeah, you know, you choose what's useful to you, I guess, but they will also show up and then you'll learn in the conversations. I'm well and dipilile. Great. Are you married? Uchatile? Hai andichatanga. When will you marry? Nizochata nini? Namhlanje ndixakekile. I'm busy today. Usisi ukhathazekile. Sister's worried. Don't worry. Sukukhathazeka, or just sukhathazeka. Mama is tired. Umama udiniwe. Okay, so this brings me to one of the bonus bits because some of the statives are irregular. So we're going to get to them now. These ones here are starting to show you irregular statives. Tired, diniwe, not dinile. I'll explain why now. No, she is asleep. Ulele. I'm hungry. I request food. It's important to learn Xhosa. Kubalulekile ukufunda Xhosa. Cell phone is lost. Blah blah blah. I'm going to skip that for now. You will see that yourselves. And let me show you this deeper tracks, quick sticks. So, oh, I knew there was a suffix, a verbal extension that I forgot, and that is wa. So when you see wa on the end of a verb, it makes it into the passive, all right? This is not super useful right now, but it's here as a bonus track piece. So when there's wa on the end, it's passive, like tandwa means beloved. You're not loving, you're the beloved. What's another example? Xoliswa. Xolisa is you make peace, you apologize. Xoliswa, you have been Xoliswa, pacified. Xoliswa. Yeah, you have been apologized to, or you have been made peaceful. You're the passive, you're the object of the verb, something like that. And they don't get ile on the end, they turn into iwe. So just one example is tired, because we all like to use this word. I'm tired. Dinwa is becoming tired. So once you are tired, you use diniwe. I am tired and diniwe. We are tired, si diniwe. We are not tired, as dinwanga. Dinwanga. All right. It's a bit of a mouthful. Don't stress. If you want to say tired, it's just a nice word to learn, but it's an irregular. It's a passive stative. I don't understand why. It just is what it is. Thirsty is also that, but you don't really need to know this right now. Becoming thirsty, manwa. They are thirsty, but maniwe. They aren't thirsty, abanganwanga. Okay, mouthfuls of water. Selamansi, drink water. So the regular ones that I wanted to mention, oh God, I put a lot of things in here. Sorry guys, overload. Again, just keep it chilled. Just those basic statives. I see Mujahid's asking for the past tense. Those are here in the bonus section, Mujahid. I might get to them now. I'm just worried about overloading you guys. So irregular statives, there are a few of them and they're very useful to know. Usually they are irregular because the normal verb ends with ela or en or ana or ela. You'll see what I mean now. So hlala is sit, hlala phansi, sit down. It also means take a seat. Hlala, take a seat. Once you're seated, you can't say we don't say ndihlalile, you say ndihleli, I am seated. Okay? Hleli, ala becomes eli. Hluta is to become satisfied of food, satiated. So when you've eaten enough food, you say dihluti, dihluti, I am full, dihluti. Lala is to lie down or go to sleep. So once you are lying down or you have gone to sleep, ulele. So upi, u, Dion, ulele, he is asleep, ulele. And then I put a bunch more over here, which they're just being introduced right now. I'm a bit worried. I feel like it's overkill, but these will be revisited at a later stage. So don't worry too much about it now. It's only if you have capacity. It's not necessary. And they will eventually show up in conversations. But like hluti is a nice one. If you've had food and people want to give you more food, you're like, inkosi mama hluti, I'm full. And yeah, someone is sleeping, ulele. Lala, lie down, sleeping, ulele. Okay. So again, we're deep into deeper content here. The past tense of the statives. Okay, so how do you say I was hungry, as Mujahid has asked, or I was sick, I was married? There's a couple of ways, but again, we don't want to overcomplicate. So for now, you use the recent past continuous tense, which we learned last in level 2. Bendi, ubu, ebe, besi, beni, bebe. It's too much right now. This could be its own whole lesson, but I just put it here as a reference because sometimes people want to know, like Mujahid right now. There they are. Bendi, ubu, ebe, besi, beni, bebe. Oh God, it always feels like it's too much, But you add those on. So I was hungry, bendi kakeki. Yeah, Gail, I totally understand. This is where it gets a bit much and it's not necessary. This is the deeper content, but that is how it works. So if you have capacity, you add recent past prefixes onto the normal prefix with the stative. You get some long words when you start going into the negative. I'm going to hope I didn't put the negative, but I got a bad feeling I did. Let's look at the conversation. This might be better for you guys. Yeah, it's just a nice conversation that you guys will work through in your classes. Again, when you're integrating this course, that's the whole point of in between semesters. That's why we do the intersemester program. We like have a chance to look at these conversations. Maybe you guys will all say this is ridiculous, or we want to work at our own pace through these content, and you just work yourselves through this content much slower. That's also an option. It might make my life easier as well, because I'm always trying to like herd everyone into semesters, because it was meant to make life a little bit easier. I'm not convinced about that right now. So point is, don't stress. You don't need to do this right now. But there's a nice conversation here for you to work through. You'll see the applications of the different statives. I'm not going through it now because we've run out of time, but it's there for you and a whole bunch of them being used. So it's a nice way to learn. To sum up, sorry, I'm scrolling all the way back up. There's a cultural insight there. I'm just taking one more looky. Cultural insights, I think death and funerals, not quite sure why. Oh yeah, swelekile and file. I must have thought there was a relevance. So let's go back to the Zoom prep and the pinup summary sheet. All right. What do you need to know from today? Really, really simply. Gosh. Dipilile. Now you know why dipilile is ile, not ila. Are you married? Uchatile. Ewe ndichatile. Uchatile nabani? Dichatile no whoever you're married to. Or hayi andichatanga. No, I'm not married. When will you marry? Okay, so that's just a little bit of application of the kind of thing you know. And then there's a few other statives here that are useful, but probably the most useful one is ndilambile, because that one might save your life. However, Xhosa people will generally feed you whether you are hungry or not. Such is the nature of Ubuntu. And they will usually give you far too much food, which you have to find creative ways to dispose. you don't know what I'm talking about, join us for your Xhosa in December. No, just joking. Yeah, not always, sometimes, but sometimes you will get very large portions of umusho, which is sampan beans. And yeah, sometimes you do need to like distribute it to the various animals and children that are nearby. But yeah, and dihluti, I'm full, is also very useful. I don't think I put that on here, but there's a lot of useful things. Just take little bits and pieces that are useful to you. And remember the time when these become integrated are either working through the conversation, which is a really nice way to do it, or in real life when you need it and you're like, oh, I need to tell someone, thank you for the food, I'm hungry, I'm full, and then you'll use them and then you'll retain them. So, you know, you don't need to know it all right now. But if you do need it, it's all here, or most of it is here in terms of explaining it. And yeah, there's a lot that you can start to gauge from it. But it is a bit much. I'm not going to lie, it's a bit much. Let me just see. There's another chat box comment. Rowella. I've had to find creative ways to get rid of chicken gizzards for breakfast. Indeed, indeed. I mean, I was a vegetarian when I became a Xhosa, which was, it's very inconvenient to be a vegetarian. People, they don't understand what that means. They'll give you chicken and they'll give you bacon, then so yeah, and I don't like tripe. You know, apparently my grandparents loved it, but Xhosa peeps, most of them love it. It's called ulusu is one name, or upensi. And I know those names very well because if they get mentioned anywhere near me, I'm like, no. Dihluti, enkosi, I know enkosi dihluti, even if I'm starving. Because I don't know, I can't handle tripe. But anyways, upensi, ulusu, there will be things that you might not want to eat. So I find dihluti is very useful. Or, you know, andifuni, no thanks, enkosi, I don't want that, andifuni, diabulela. But yeah, so guys, I will feel successful if you feel that you have a sense of, okay, stative verbs are these verbs of becoming, a state of becoming, getting some sort of a way, and they function slightly differently from normal verbs because they use ile, the past tense ile, but in a present tense, i.e. I'm hungry, ndilambile. If you get that, then I'm happy. And the negative, andilambanga. All right, then I'm happy. And then if you start to learn a few extras, like, why are you learning Xhosa? Kutheni ufundis Xhosa? Hayi, kubalulekile ukufundis Xhosa. Kubalulekile ukuthetha nabantu. It's important to talk with people. Whatever. Kubalulekile ukuqonda isintu. You know, it's important, or whatever you want to say. And then, yeah, you know, one day you want to say something's lost. I'm lost. It's lost. Ilahleki, dilahleki. They will come piece by piece by piece. It's okay. Kulungi. It's all right. It's not all right. Akulunganga. So yeah, I think just spend some time, slowly but surely, be patient with yourselves, and it will integrate. But you will start to notice them. You will start to notice them. You will start to notice people using the iles, and you'll be like, that doesn't quite feel like it's past tense, and so on. Patty and Ditela, wamwabe. What do you want me to be happy? Bye-bye, sis Gail. Hamba kakuhle. Oh, I am happy. I'm very happy. And I'm frustrated and stressed out. I can multitask. In fact, multitasking might be my problem. But yeah, no, thank you. I'm happy, Patty, Nkosi, and to you as well, Nakuwe. Anyone else? Any questions, guys? Any comments?
Uxolo.
Molly?
Okay, this has nothing to do with this lesson, but I just was thinking about the verb to come. And I just suddenly realized I don't understand something about, I understand how to use it like ndiza, uza, everything. But where does uyeza come from? Why is there an E in the middle?
Latent I verbs. All right. So you get these things called latent I verbs. And what they are like vowel verbs that start with this latent I. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they aren't. Icha is one, which is eat. Iza, come. Iza. And there's like 4 that are pretty common. Icha, Iza, Iza, Icha, Ima. Ima is stop. Now, why are they latent? Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. For instance, if you want to say to eat, you say ukucha. You don't like mix the u and the e and make it ukuicha. It's just ukucha, to eat. Okay. If you want to say to come, you would say ukuza. If you want to say to stop, uma. So the I has disappeared in those instances. Now, if you want to say I am eating, you say I am eating dia cha. So there the I has disappeared. It's not influencing the ya. It's not becoming dia cha. But if you want to say I am coming, then you need to, it's there. I don't know why, but it's there. I'm coming dieza. Dieza. So it's the ya plus the iza becoming dieza. Or mama is coming. She's coming to, she's on her way. Mama uyeza. Mama uyeza. So it's just how uyeza works. Iza, just that I comes back in, and that's just what people do.
And then where does woza come in?
Woza is Zulu.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Woza weekend. No, it's fine. They're so close. In Xhosa, you say yiza. So if you want to tell someone to eat, you'd say yicha. If you want to tell someone to come here, you say yiza. Yizapa. Come here. Yizapa. If you want to tell someone to stop, you say yima. So I'll put the Y in brackets because if you're giving them as commands, then you add a Y. Okay. You tell the child to eat, you say yicha. Eat. Come. Yiza. Stop. Yima. But the Y also drops away as soon as you're saying like ukucha, ukuza, ukuma. I am eating in diacha. I'm coming in dieza. And then woza is Zulu. Woza weekend. Come. Come on, weekend. Zulu. Woza.
Enkosi kakhulu.
Sure. Iza pa, come here. Iza, and usually it says Iza apa, but it usually turns into Izap. Izap. Come. Izap. Woza, come here in Zulu, woza. And remember, there's some dialects that will use woza. Wozap, wozalap. But main Xhosa proper is Yiza. Cool. Any other questions? Ninemibuzo na? Ninemibuzo. So I think I'm trying to figure it out, but at some point, what we're working towards, what you guys are working towards here, because ideally you also want the noun groups. So level 3, level 4, we want you guys to have this like overview of basic verbal tenses, these extensions you're starting to see. We're going to learn object concords after the noun groups and the noun groups. Once you've done that, then what we want is to have like these isiXhosa kra type sessions, similar to the last year, in between semester, where you're just practicing, either going through conversations like are in the course, or you're having conversations with people where you're just practicing the talking. That's what we really want to get to. And what I'm wanting to do now, but it doesn't quite affect you guys, is we're going to start like almost the Xhosa club inside Ubuntu Bridge, which is where we're going to start looking at plays. We're going to start reading novels once a week. We're going to look at Xhosa commentary, and I'm going to record those and start feeding them into the system. And yeah, I'm going to invite people to learn. And you guys are welcome. I think I might say anyone's welcome at any point, but you run the risk of overloading yourself. So it's more a case of just like slowly getting through this content to the point where you can move on to the sort of playing field. But right now, this is kind of a bit contrived, and you are learning quite a lot of theory. And what you will notice is that it's difficult to integrate this. You're like learning a bit too much sometimes. And then you're going to have a conversation and you're going to want to try and say the past tense of a stative verb. And, you know, it's not often that there's lots of people just sitting around waiting for you to figure that one out, you know. So you can't get frustrated with yourselves at this point. If you were living in a village or in a township and like thoroughly immersed and you needed to communicate in Xhosa all the time, then it's great because you can sit with your book for a whole hour before you go to the mama and say, "Xolo mama, ndifuna ukutya, ndilambile ngoku," you know, and so on. But in our lives, we're only encountering Xhosa in little bits, pieces, and there's so much. So you can't expect too much success immediately from all of this. And this is a bit of a challenging level for sure. Even level 2, the second half of level 2 starts to get a bit challenging. But what we're trying to do strategically is we're just setting a kind of we're adding a whole bunch of ingredients in. And then you want to get to that point, especially after the noun groups, where we can just talk more. And even then it'll be a process, but it does start to fall into place. But yeah, it's a kind of language is a difficult one. And I've been researching a lot, like how to move into greater levels of fluency. It's quite cool. But yeah, it's one of the big ones is just like watching films without even subtitles, like just watching Xhosa content. And it's difficult with Xhosa. There's not a lot of it, which is why part of my want is to try and create more content. But we are finding more and more stuff. And then there's Mhlobo as well. And the idea will be that we have a weekly club, at least once weekly, where we working through these novels, content. So we're just like gradually making progress and like pulling each other along. Because even me, my Xhosa stagnates ridiculously, where I just don't speak. I'm not challenged in any way with my Xhosa. I'm not watching content. I'm not immersed. I'm not learning new content, and I don't even bother. I don't even worry about it. And then I go to the village and suddenly I have to negotiate with villagers in Xhosa, and I'm like, oh my God. And sometimes, I mean, it actually does usually come quite quickly, or I start my brain has to activate and I start using what I know, and I start like picking up, and within a few days already it starts improving. And that's not from me learning in childhood, that's from me learning as an adult. So it really accelerates when you are immersed. And you have to learn. But I want to have more learning. And so that's why I'm starting this kind of club within Ubuntu Bridge for some of the more advanced learners, where we want to start pushing that. But we'll record it all, so it will feed into the system. That's the idea. And then, yeah, you guys would be welcome to join. But I don't want to push you. You still just need to do this boring study stuff, unfortunately, before you start getting these complex sentences and like idioms and proverbs and all of that. But it's also a really enjoyable phase. Anyway, that's just a little bit of the future. For now, Inkosi nonke. I hope that was an interesting lesson. And yeah, looking forward. Inkosi niwun sobonana ngomvulo uzayo. Inkosi ndiyabulela. And thanks, guys. Any other questions? You're welcome to ask. Okay, cool.
Enkosi kakhulu.
Enkosi sis Leonie.
Bye bye.
Bye bye nonke.